Okay, we got recording. So understandably, everybody has their own goals for booking. So like I said, when I started, I only wanted to do 2 shows a month. That was my goal when I started. Now my goal is 6 to 8. So whatever your goal is, we're going to work tonight and tomorrow to help you reach that many parties, shows in September and maybe even into October. Or maybe get some November, but we're going to focus on September. We're going to fill up September to reach your goals first, and then we're going to move on to October. Not to say that if someone wants to book October, you're going to turn them down when you're talking to them, but we're going to try to focus on September first. So, but tonight, the reason I wanted to meet on Zoom is because I wanted to give you guys some tasks to prepare for the booking blitz tomorrow. And to get you guys brainstorming and maybe even sharing a little bit with each other. If you don't know what a booking blitz is, it's a time where we can all set aside a specific amount of time to reach out to contacts, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on the computer, whether it's text messaging, just to reach out to contacts to see if they are interested in booking a party, booking a show. It doesn't matter what kind, just some kind of, to get more bookings on your calendar. And maybe at that point in time, it's just a contact and not a booking, but it might be somebody you follow up with later. So we're going to work on some of those tasks tonight. So I want you guys to have an open mind. I want you to think about, don't limit yourself to who you're thinking about or what you're thinking about in terms of categories of people, because I'm going to throw a lot of different things at you that I want you to brainstorm. And I want you to take notes, but like on this first one, I think we're going to for sure share with each other. So make sure you have something to write on and with, if you can. And the first thing I want you guys to think about are, who are your hot leads? So think about your hot leads. And I don't necessarily mean specific people. Think about categories of people. So take a minute to write down, think about categories of people that would be hot leads right now. And like I said, don't be afraid to think outside the box. Maybe it's a group of people, and I mean categories of people, not necessarily groups of people, but think about past hosts, current hosts, guests. Think about people you know through different community groups or work, things like that. Thinking kind of more categories than specifics. Does somebody have anything that they want to share? I mean, keep writing, keep brainstorming, but if you have some good ones to share, feel free.
I wrote down current guests because that's my biggest area that I can get new people for parties.
Okay, good. Current guests.
When I tried to keep up with the 2-2-2 theory, I have people that I had already did thank you right away at 2 days. I did the 2 weeks follow-up and asking if they got their products. And then I have a list now that I've prepared for the 2-month connection. And so those are going to be kind of on my first set. But I really appreciated even knowing and learning about the email thank yous. Because some of them, you know, they don't necessarily meet me if it's a virtual. I don't have a clue, but at least I wanted to touch that button, thank anybody with an email that ordered. And then if I had a phone that I would connect, I would write that phone down right away with their name, and I'd try and connect with them somehow on a phone. And by the 2-week time, that was working pretty good. So now I have my 2-month ones that I want to get into.
Yeah. Good. So you can, if you're doing the 2, 2, and 2, 2 day, 2 weeks, 2 months, those might be categories of folks to contact. Michelle, we're brainstorming categories of hot leads. So yes, go ahead, Marty.
I've been contacting area schools for the prom committees to see if we want to do fundraisers for their junior, senior prom. And then another one I thought of was I call them kids, the kids who are in their 20s and 30s with their new career starting up and everything, and they're ready now to invest into their kitchens.
Great. Yeah, so schools for junior, senior proms, that's great, but just for fundraisers, but fundraisers in general, that's a great one to think about. So it could be your local schools, it could be groups within the schools, it could be church groups, it could be nonprofit organizations, things like that. So fundraisers, so that category of fundraiser could just go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the early 20s or late 20s and early 30s, people who are just getting their like first house, purchasing their first house, really
Right.
ready to
Yep.
submit or to commit to getting some good tools in their kitchen. Anybody else have a certain category of people they think would be a hot lead?
This is Jackie. I was just talking to, I have a booking in September. I was talking to the gal today, and she's going to talk to her book club.
Oh,
so
cool.
About doing maybe a separate show.
Sure.
So I thought that would be good to maybe spread it out.
Yeah, so
get some bookings from there.
If she did one herself and then have her book club do one, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
What about someone who had a good reason to reschedule this year? Maybe you had a host that canceled and they wanted to reschedule, but you haven't gotten them down on your calendar yet. Or someone who just canceled, maybe now, it's been a little bit of time, you can follow up and see if September would be a good time, have a good time, have a date to fill. Customers within the last 90 days, that's kind of like what Dorothy was talking about. So any customers within the last 90 days, you could follow up with them, see if they're using their products. That gives you a good reason to call or contact them. Hey, how are you liking your new bar pan? Have you used it yet? What have you used it on? And if they haven't, why aren't you using it? Do you need some recipes? Do you need some more products? Let me help you get them for free.
Sarah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do one. We have until the end of September to do one for Hurricane Harvey victims. Pampered Chef will be sending us the information on how we can hook that up so that proper money goes there.
Yeah, that's that's a way for all of us to be able to help something that's so prevalent in the news. It's happening right now. So that's great.
Is that announced in our stir?
Yeah. Well, no, they don't have the details yet, but they're coming. It'll start tomorrow, I think, is when you can start doing them. But so look for information, I guess.
Cindy, do you have a organization in mind already?
Well, Pampered Chef Corporate is going to do fundraising, and they'll give us a link, and then we can turn them in just like we do for the American Cancer Society.
Oh, I
and
see.
Then our corporate offices are tripling the percentage of what we can make on our fundraisers. Instead of 10 or 15, they can make, or double. Isn't it, Sarah, 30% or more that Pampered Chef will pay out?
I think so. That sounds right.
And then usually what corporate does is they take all the money we raise and then they give several million on top of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'd rather go there and give in large numbers, and they'll see it gets to the right people and the right parties that need it.
I agree. That's where I will do mine then.
Yeah, so we got to just wait and see what they tell us to use for a connection.
Mm-hmm. So that should be coming. You should have gotten the emails, and they probably, I think they talked about it in Stir, but they'll have more info on it coming soon. So I know another one, and I know some of you guys are new, still within your even first 90 days. So this may not apply to you, but for those of you who have been around a year or longer, think about those who did shows last September. Are they ready to book again? Or even, you can even think about some of the hosts who booked 6 months, or who did a show 6 months ago. With the new catalog coming out, they might be excited to do another show.
I think I'm going to try and do an open house type myself for fall kickoff. I need to do that.
That's always an option, is doing a show for yourself, and with new products coming out, it's a great time. One thing that I have learned, I don't know where I picked it up along the way, but the word open house does not always draw a big crowd. So name your party something fun. Don't call it an open house. For some reason, and because I've done it too, and I did open house and I had like 3 people come, where I've had other events called different things and had more people show up. So for some reason, that open house does not do the draw, but have a spring kickoff or something fun like that. Spring fling, or I guess it's not spring, it's fall. Let's see. Some of the other ideas. As always, look at your list, or look at your host specials, what's on your host special list, and see if you have a guest who really wanted some of those items that were on there. And contact them and let them know that they can get them for 50% off. Anybody else have some good ideas that we haven't said? Any types of groups or hot leads that we need to follow up with?
I'm doing a party swap. A friend of mine sells these children's books, so I agreed to do a party with her if she does a party with me.
That's fun to do, but you can get partied out easily that way too. So, but that's a great way to reach out to some new people. What about, okay, so do we have any other ones? So we're going to move on to the next task. That was our first task. And our second task, we're really going to think outside the box. We really want you to brainstorm. So I'm going to kind of give you a category, and I want you to write down as many names as you can that relate to that category. Don't think about if they're going to book a party or not. Don't think, oh, no, they don't even like to cook. Don't think about anything. Just when I say the category and you think, oh, John, Bill, Sue, write them down. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you think that they're going to book. It doesn't matter if they just hosted a party. Just write them down. So the first category is someone who hosted with you last September, or someone who has a September birthday. So knowing, and if you have to look up who hosted with you last September, just jot that down, who hosted last September, and you can look it up. But who do you know, if you can remember, write that down, or who has a September birthday? Try to get 2 or 3 people under each one if you can.
I've only been a consultant since March, so I can't go back that far.
No, that's fine. Think about if you know anybody who has a birthday in September then.
I do. I know a couple people.
Perfect. Okay, our next category, if you have to come back to them, you can. But our next category is someone that has the same name as you, or a name that starts with the same letter. So think of somebody who has the same name as you, first name, or a name that starts with the same letter. Write those down. So you might have to really think outside the box with these. The next one is the first person who's not a consultant with Pampered Chef that shows up on your news feed in Facebook when you check your Facebook. Think of some of the people whose news pops up, posts pop up on Facebook when you hit the home and you see all the news feed. Someone who's not a consultant whose name pops up there. And Haley kind of hit on this one. The next one is someone else who sells something else that's another direct sales consultant. Not Pampered Chef, but maybe someone who sells something else.
I just closed a party with a 31 host like yesterday.
Well, see, there you go. They should be on your list. So the next ones you may have to look up later, so you can just write down what you have to look up. But the next one is the fourth contact under the letter S in your address book or your phone. I'm sure you don't know that off the top of your head. If you do, I'm impressed. But the fourth contact in your address book or your phone under the letter S. The person who wrote you the oldest email in your email box. And I know I have some back to like at least 2000. That's pretty sad.
Hey, Sarah, you're my fourth S in my contacts.
Okay, go to your fifth.
Okay.
I think my oldest email is actually from you.
Okay, then go to your second oldest email.
My oldest email is from myself, so
Well, be a little flexible. Remember, we're thinking outside the box. If it's me or another consultant or yourself, pick one before or after.
What was the one after the fourth S?
The person who wrote you the oldest dated email in your inbox.
Okay, thanks.
The eighth person down in your Facebook message inbox. It really could be any number. Go through your message inbox, but if that helps you brainstorm other people too, that's awesome. As long as it's not a consultant.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, it's the eighth person down in your Facebook messages box. So you know when you click messages and it pulls up the list of people that you've messaged.
All right.
So those are some of them that you may have to look up later. But here's some more you can brainstorm and write down now. A teacher or a nurse. Cindy should know a lot of teachers and nurses because she's a nurse and works at a school. But I know some other folks are involved in different school activities, have children in school, so you'll know teachers. Several people work in different medical fields. May know nurses that way. So write down some of those names. Linda knows lots of nurses that come to her house and help with her granddaughter.
Yes, I do. Although I'm very short-handed right at the moment. I've already had most of them either have a party or order from me.
Well, that's good though. So you're already making contacts with them. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so I have more. This is kind of the way this is set up. This is continuing to brainstorm. Think of ideas. Think of people, categories of people. I'm going to give you some more topics, and you think of people that would fit there, names of people that would fit in there. Again, think outside the box. Think of specific people and don't limit yourself. Don't say they already hosted a party or they wouldn't be interested. Don't prejudge. So this would technically be the third task, but it's just more of the same of what we've been doing. So think about who you would consider your best friend or best friends and write down their names. How about a friend or relative that lives near you? You can do a friend or relative that lives near you, and you can do a friend or relative that lives far away from you, because you can do Facebook parties. Think about the person who does your hair, who does, if you get your nails done, who does your nails. If you get facials or massages, who are those people? Somebody in your doctor or dentist's office. Let's brainstorm. I couldn't tell you someone in my doctor's office, but I know that the gal, the reception at my dentist, is named Kelly. And I usually see the same hygienist, but I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I think it's Mindy.
I made a contact with the lady at the post office every time I go to mail my host packets.
That's great. So yeah, if you see the same person at the post office, make contact with them. Somebody, you write down names of somebody you're afraid to ask to host. Who are you afraid to ask to do a party for you? You may have heard of it as the chicken list. People you're too chicken to ask. But sometimes they'll surprise you. So write down somebody that you're too afraid to ask or have been in the past. And then here's a couple more you can look up. You may have to look up later. The oldest text message you have saved in your phone, the person that's from. The oldest text message you have saved in your phone. And the person on the top of your green dot list. Now, what your green dot list is when you're on Facebook, all your contacts that are online at that time have a green dot next to them on the right-hand side. And we're going to be talking more about green dot connections tomorrow. But who shows up? Who do you think of that shows up at the top of your list, or who's at the top of your list? And then I have a couple other ones that have like letters, the 6th letter under your address, but I'm not going to do those because really you can go through your phone and anybody you haven't contacted, you can contact them. Text message, phone call. So really anybody that's in your phone as a contact, or anybody that's on your Facebook as a contact. So what I wanted us to do tonight, and I didn't want to spend a really long time, but I wanted you guys to get thinking outside the box of people that you can contact. And yes, you'll have to go through some of these lists and cross out people who are consultants, or, you know, because like, if I think about some of my best friends, they're already consultants. If I think about something like some of you guys were saying, the emails, most recent emails from me or whatever. So you may have to cross a few of those out, but don't cross out people that you haven't talked to. Don't prejudge people because we're going to be using these contacts tomorrow. So you may want to look up phone numbers or emails to to have them ready, because when we do our booking blitz, we want to have people ideas of who we want to contact. We're also gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk about messages to send to those who have green dots. With the green dot, the people that are, you know, currently on your Facebook that are online right then with the green dots. And I'll help you with some verbiage to send to them tomorrow during the booking blitz, as well as text message ideas, phone calls, what to say, things like that. But I wanted you guys to start brainstorming, coming up with ideas of who to contact. Of course, you can always go to look at some of your past guests. We've talked about that. Start adding names to those hot lead groups. If you can think of, you know, you're thinking of fundraisers, start thinking of different specific schools or organizations for fundraisers, or past guests. Start looking up some of those contacts so you have those ready to go tomorrow. I try to always start out my new consultants with a Frank's list. Frank being what standing for a different, it's an acronym, the brainstorm people under each of those. I'm going to post that on our event so you guys can see that. And if you need to brainstorm those, it's friends, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, kids, like people you know through your kids, and then spouse or significant other, people you know through your spouse or significant other. So I'll post that in the files on our Facebook list so you guys can look on there. But that's another great way, if you have a Frank's list, add to it or go back to it and see who you haven't contacted. But the big thing is just not to limit yourself. And, you know, even if you have that chicken list and you're afraid to ask, you might be surprised, because I know I've heard stories of people saying that, you know, their aunt didn't know you sold Pampered Chef and they wanted to know why you hadn't asked them. Last night I was at a going away party and I had just met this lady, and she was asking the group, does anybody know someone who sells Pampered Chef? I'm like, ooh, me. So you never know where you're going to meet people, or when somebody has a need for what we have to offer for either kitchen products or the actual the business, or just the fact that our products help get meals on the table quickly and can bring people around the table for those meals. We have a lot to offer with Pampered Chef, and you know, and tomorrow we'll talk about some other ways to ask people about parties and shows. So, but I want you guys to have a list ready to go, so we're not spending our time during the booking blitz trying to come up with the list. So, thank you guys so much for joining tonight. Do you guys have any questions for me this evening?
No, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop the recording and we are done for the evening. And tomorrow we'll meet back. It won't be on Zoom. It will just be on the Facebook event, and I'll be posting kind of like a live party for a little bit of training. And then we will make some contacts, reach out to some folks. So thank you again. And if you do have any questions, certainly feel free to message me on Facebook or post it on the event. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.